Today, we're going to be talking to George Kimmel, the executive producer and showrunner of Tigerbelly and the founder of 7 Equis, who produces a lot of the podcasts that are in your regular rotation. This is a series that I've started where I interview people that I like in the podcasting industry that you guys are probably wondering, man, that's such a cool job. How did they get that? Or what do I need to do in order to have a cool job like that? I've already done Ben Avery and Fancy B from Bad Friends, and now we're covering George Kimmel. Welcome to Catching You Up with
the Nadav. It's
I'd like to thank the executive producer of this episode, Eric Bay. Without their big baller support, I'd probably go to a casting agency and try and rent a kid for 3-4 hours, and then take him to a really touristy spot, like a beach city or Vegas or something, and I'd start looking, I'd dress myself up like a homeless person, and I would just very sadly be drinking water, the last couple sips of a water bottle, and then I'd have this kid go up to strangers and be like, "Excuse me, can me and my dad get $1 from you so we can have lunch?" And we'd be raking in so much money. But thanks to Eric Bay and their big baller support, I don't have to resort to that. And if you would like to become a big baller supporter of the show, you can go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. And without further ado, here's that fun interview with my good pal, George Kimmel. I would like to introduce my good friend George Kimmel of 7 Equis.
What's happening?
Producer of Tigerbelly and Bad Friends and a whole bunch of other podcasts that you're probably a fan of. George, before we get started, anything you'd like to plug?
7equis.com, I guess.
Sick.
That should have anything we're working on.
Sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, this is kind of supposed to be what your journey was to get from where you started to where you are now. And if you're anything like me, there was probably a moment or a thought or a time in your life where you're like, I want to be in entertainment, and then you just kind of start going on that path. So let's start there. When did you know that you wanted to do this? Maybe not podcasting, but you wanted to make things that people watched.
I think I slowly got into it, kind of. I was just didn't know you could study film in college.
Mm-hmm.
So when I toured University of Michigan once with my dad, and we toured the film department, and I never said anything in high school to either of my parents. So I think on the drive home,
ever?
Probably not. On the drive home, I once said, "Wow, they had a film department." And then my dad just started telling people I was going to go to film school.
Fucking A, solid dad.
So,
all right. So just trying to make Mr. Kimmel happy. That's kind of what got you there.
No, high school was so boring, and I was like, "How could you can study things like this?" Still, my favorite class ever was a summer class. Since I didn't start I didn't transfer into Michigan until junior year, so I had to do summer school to make up for everything and catch up on film classes. Was a history of TV. And it's just waking up on a Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. to rush to class and just watch old TV shows was the most fun. And the teacher was loved doing it. And he was I stayed up all night. I stayed up late and so that I could record the last time Comedy Central or the Cartoon Network showed the racist Bugs Bunny cartoons. And here they are for you.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
No way. And how old were you when that happened?
College.
Okay.
I think you can find them all on YouTube now.
Okay.
This was
a little easier.
Yeah, pre-YouTube.
So in college, you were like, these are the things I want. Well, before that, you had an inclination that you wanted to, do something in film.
Yeah, high school, I'd watched, sketches and stuff and tried to make random sketch videos with my friend.
Oh, hell yeah. Do you remember any of the premises of those sketches?
No. Gladly no.
No? I don't believe you. George, I don't believe you. You know that's bullshit.
No, I actually don't. All I remember is we were trying to do accents.
Which ones?
Monty Python.
Okay. Oh, British. That's safe.
British woman accents.
Okay, that's safe.
And then my buddy and I, who should have been behind the camera, but that's the whole time. We would just slowly go from British woman into a male Southern.
Okay.
And we were and he realized it. He's a lot smarter than me. He realized it then that we should be behind the camera. And me, I don't think I've learned it still.
Do you have that footage anywhere?
I could ask him.
What was it on? Was it on film?
That was probably. Is this before mini DV? I remember
Just straight up DV? Or Super 8 or something?
It would have been DV. It would digital video, but like I forget how it was recorded because my buddy back in Berrien Springs, Michigan, population 3,000. I think he lived like the alternate life of mine. Where he stayed home, got married young, has 2 kids that are in college now, and very successful.
Okay.
Doing video and artsy stuff like on Photoshop.
Okay.
Stuff. So, and me, I just kept on delaying life.
Okay. How so?
Every year, I went to grad school, and that's just people who aren't getting married, having kids, settling down. Then after grad school, I started hanging out with stand-up comedians. And that's just people who are just delaying, settling down, and starting life.
What comedians did you hang out with?
Oh, Bobby.
Oh, right. Because you know him from your time at Maker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to bounce around quite a bit. I can bounce around as much as. Shall we jump forward to?
No. Let's try and stay chronological.
Okay, chronological.
Yeah, let's stay chronological.
Okay.
So let's start back in college.
Okay.
So Michigan, right?
Yeah.
So from Michigan, what film school? Like what film schools? Like what film classes did you take? Where you're like, oh, this is the part that I want to do. Like, you didn't know that you wanted to be in front or behind the camera. Like, what were the definitive?
That was just when everybody wanted to be, Tarantino, or direct Clerks. So like, yeah, I wanted to. But then like halfway through film school, there was a guy came and brought his Bollywood film to Michigan, and he forgot like back in India the cut that had the subtitles. So I watched this film without subtitles, and I was still mesmerized because it was this big Mission Kashmir, big action film starring Hrithik Roshan, the actor that has an extra pinky.
That sounds like you studied how to pronounce that.
And it's action. Boats are flying in the air, guns going pop, 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 pop. And then, out of nowhere, this lady comes out and starts dancing. Boom, bro, sham, ranga, boom, bro. And I was like, in what world do these two things fit in the same movie? And so I just got obsessed with Bollywood films. And me and my buddy just were watching Bollywood films, every film we could get our hands on.
No shit.
For the next year and a half. And then I went, when I was about to graduate, we were like, let's go to Bollywood. Why don't we go and check it out? So after
you went to Bollywood?
Yeah.
Huh. What was that like?
Wild. It was before the expats were like really living in Bombay.
Okay.
At least in northern Bombay. Southern Bombay had a whole bunch of Europeans, very few Americans. But northern Bombay, the filmy part of Bombay, no white people.
How long were you there for?
Just under a year.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You were there for a year.
Yep.
Damn, dude, that did not. I remember the first movie I saw without subtitles did not turn into that. It was Human Centipede.
Oof.
Yeah, it starts off with the 2 American girls, and then they get gagged.
Oh, yeah.
And then just everything's in German. I was just like, interesting choice. It's like I'm seeing it from the perspective of the ladies, and I didn't end up making horror movies and stuff, but I didn't spend a year in Germany.
You didn't just go stay at hostels until something happened to you?
Yeah. No, yeah, and then I was just like, oh yeah, maybe I could start like killing immigrants at these hostels. No, wait, that's the hostel.
Yeah.
What came first, Hostel or Human Centipede? Hostel?
I think it's all this, but it's the same premise, right?
No.
Travelers, Hostel is at a hostel, but didn't he get them at hostels?
Human Centipede was car trouble. And then they're like, excuse me, our phone doesn't work. He goes, for sure, come inside.
Okay.
And I remember it's so funny, man. Literally 45 minutes into the movie or an hour into the movie, it's because they're not really talking to each other. They're just showing all of a sudden he just shows the diagram. Like, man, what an interesting way to reveal what's happening.
Yeah.
And I remember the only time I even thought for a second that subtitles should have been on was at the end. Spoiler alert: 2 cops come in and there's just like 5 minutes of dialogue back and forth. I'm like, there's no way they think I should be able to interpret through context clues what they're saying. And then I click the button. I'm like, oh, I fucked up. I'm not rewatching this though.
Was that the classic movie? Like, explain everything that happened so like you understand it all.
No, yeah, it made sense once you turned subtitles. Like there was much less left up to the imagination. Human Centipede 2 was a lot cooler. 0 subtitles, a lot easier to understand.
I didn't make it to that one. I as you can see, I barely remember the first one.
Dude, it was very meta.
Yeah.
It was about a guy that watched the first movie. And I think it was something a little wrong with his head. Like there's something like a sparkle missing from the eyes. And he's just doing a mega centipede. Anyways, but we're getting farther from it.
Yeah.
A year in Bollywood.
Yep. Yeah, so I went with one of my buddies. I got to be just a fourth assistant director on a film.
A fourth assistant director?
It doesn't exist here.
Yeah, what does a fourth AD do?
I did continuity without knowing anything about continuity. It's like continuity is the worst for my personality, just writing down minutiae.
So you worked on Bollywood movies while there?
Yeah. Well, one Bollywood movie.
That's how long does it take for them to film one of those?
They're pretty quick. Let's see, where we
about half a week.
month and 6 weeks in Goa. And then they'd done some other things before that, like they had some musical sequences, dance sequences that they filmed before to get some money together.
Did you learn Hindi? That's what they speak over there, right?
I spent the summer before going learning as much Hindi as possible. And then as soon as I got there, I realized everybody I was going to talk to spoke better English than me. It's all like, if you're there, you're hanging out, like trying to get into Bollywood, you're hanging out with the top 2%.
Right.
People who had been to Oxford, Cambridge, and any number of Ivy League schools in America.
Holy shit.
You're not.
But okay, so hold on. So you bought a one-way ticket to Bollywood.
Yep.
When did you decide, like, I got to get a ticket back?
After the film had shot completely. It's a very, what would I say, intense culture.
Uh-huh.
I'm not like a very loud person automatically. I don't. But I would notice when I started arguing with a rickshaw driver about 10 cents, and he followed me.
Are you Jewish?
Yeah, India makes you Jewish. That's what. No, I hated when the rickshaw drivers tried to take advantage of you, or the taxi drivers, anybody, because I'd been there long enough to know the routes. And this guy, instead of going straight, he went around the airport, which added about 5 extra blocks. And once he followed me in, I realized maybe it's because he was just new there. It's always like, why is it that when you're new to India, you get a job that you need to know directions? But that's like the fresh into the big city job that everybody gets.
Uh-huh.
So he went the long way around, and I was yelling at him, no, you're trying to cheat me. You could have gone this way. It would have saved this much. 20 rupees. And he followed me into the JW Marriott, where I was going to get a $10 coffee or something.
Yeah.
And he was just yelling at me, and I was yelling back in Hindi. That's the only time I used my Hindi.
Is arguing with a rickshaw driver.
And finally, I was like, what am I doing arguing with some guy about 10 cents just because I didn't want him to take advantage of me?
You're like, I got to get the fuck out of here?
Yep.
There's what's funny is that it was the rickshaw driver that drove you out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like, I got to get the fuck out of here. So from Bollywood, you go to where?
Went back to work at my parents' nursery for 2 years.
Okay.
But I also made, everybody wanted to be Kevin Smith.
Right.
And
you're like, let me go max out some credit cards and make a passion project?
Yeah, my grandma had given me $10,000, so because I was an Akira Kurosawa fan, instead of just grabbing one camera, I bought 2 cameras so you could do things with coverage.
Uh-huh.
And I made the worst feature film you've ever not seen.
Can I see it?
Yeah, I'm sure it's out there.
Okay.
Andres pissed me off because I showed it to him once and he said he skipped half of it. That was 3 months of my life. So yeah, it's called The United. It's about a religious cult that will do anything to bring peace to this world, even if that means war.
Okay.
And the opening scene is probably the best part of it, and then it goes downhill from there.
Okay.
because it's just 3 people, like 10 people, like posing for a photo, and then a gun accidentally goes off and one of them falls over, and everybody is like, "Oh, I didn't know he got to go to heaven already. Why did God choose him?" And they were all like just mad and jealous rather than reacting to a death.
Interesting. So Bollywood, 2 years in nursery, and then you started making this movie, or was that during or after film school?
It's all after film school. So you Bollywood,
all right, so rewind.
nursery, then like also working on this film. Then applied to Columbia University into the city of New York. Got into grad school there, and that's kind of when I started to learn how to make movies. Because like undergrad was all writing essays about movies,
right? Like analysis.
Yeah.
So for people that are interested, that are like, oh, I don't know what does film school entail? Like what is it? What does an average first year look like? And then comparing it to what the last year of film school looks like.
Well, graduate film school, like that's where I learned everything, because it's just working in a group. So it's the fun stuff. That's the classes are writing a short, directing. Like, so every week you have to like bring in a 2-minute directing exercise or more pages for your screenplay. Producing, I forget what we learned. Like all the fun parts of producing. That's what it is. It's like these pie and like once you're out of it, it's the pie in the sky classes. Like, how do you get something produced? And it's like, well, here's my story. I'm making this, a movie set in the Wild West with Brad Pitt and Kate Winslet in it. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's a movie that will get produced. But it's like, how do you get it's like the class is packaging and everything. Like, here's the idea, here's the stars that we need to get, and here's how it's marketable. But it's like one of these pie in the sky, like big things of like, what you need to do to actually get the money for a movie.
Right, because you can
how
know
many
how
people
to
are
make
actually,
one.
yeah.
Right, but it's how do you get in a room with suits to, how do you find rich friends that could make the movie for you?
I mean, yeah, part of it was pitching, so there was parts of it that were useful.
So in film school, that's where you met Andres?
Yep.
Anyone else from the crew?
No, we were the only. Bryce came out after the first year of film school and like helped out on probably 10 shoots, like our shorts for after the first year. So he's got an unofficial degree from Columbia University.
Okay.
But yeah, I met Andres, and we realized we were the only 2 people who wanted to make action films in LA.
Okay.
Everybody else wanted to make coming of age stories in a foreign country.
Well, yeah, fucking action films are expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, I realized that once. Pie in the sky, bro. I didn't say I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid.
See, in like middle school and high school, I was making sketches and stuff like that, and I was just like, if I'm filming this stuff, like, yeah, like all my premises were encapsulated in 2 guys sitting in a living room,
Yep.
And it's just like dialogue driven and shit. And God, I have so many scripts that are just so fucking foul and stupid. Like, have you ever gone back? Like, of course, the stuff that you've made, you've seen, but like some of your earlier drafts that you read, and you're like, oh my God, how did I even think that this was something that could possibly be made?
Yes, pre-Columbia, I had no idea how to write anything. It's like, Michigan, oh my God, yeah, that script is awful.
Tell me about it.
I don't know. I remember the name, One Man's Trash. Is that the one about it? No, Dwayne's the guy in a wheelchair. I don't know. One Man's Trash. It's just a very bad ripoff of every Coen Brothers cliche.
Oh, you went Coen Brothers.
That's all I remember about it. You can't get me to remember anything else at the moment.
Me and my friends went down the mobster route.
Yeah.
I remember we made, what was the premise of the thing? What was it called? I remember the production company
It takes
name.
you so long to realize, write what you know in some way.
Right. It takes you a long time to get to that. The name of a production company that came out, it was called Hit and Run Productions. And the whole entire mob, like the premise was there was they killed someone in the mob. And then the entire movie was them planning like a massive hit on the entire mob at the funeral. So that's where they're all collected and they were going to do that. And it was just like me doing like an Italian voice being like, yeah, tell them to kill now. Like, it was so pathetic, George. I think we had one
And was this all filmed in a living room instead of
In a
like since you
handicap,
didn't
yeah.
want to like
I was in my grandmother's rocking chair giving.
you couldn't
like,
get to the
orders.
funeral, but so it's like
No, it's shot in my backyard. Honestly, I think we did one shoot day before my friend Brian was like, "Hey man, Hit and Run Productions is like pretty like dark. I kind of don't want to be a part of this anymore." I'm like, "Bro, we already have a day in the can." And I'm like having these calls with him in 9th grade, like, "You can't fuck me like this, Brian."
oh my god, those are such the most useful and the most annoying
Yeah,
conversations.
you're the only one we know with a handy cam. A JVC?
Learning how to make that conversation is like probably the most useful thing you had at that time.
Oh yeah, I was cracking skulls at a young age.
Oh my goodness.
So film school, you met Andres, and like, tell me about when you met him and you realized that it was like, oh, I could do stuff with him, and like we're kind of like on the same bandwidth, kind of.
About halfway through the first year, everybody knew him as the smiley Spanish guy. But then
Some tells me that you're saying the less okay version of saying that.
no, actually, he is Spanish.
No, yeah, I know.
But we just started talking shit about everybody else in our class, and I realized we had the same opinions on everybody else in our class. Rather than he hides it behind a smile, but he's sinister down there.
That's nice when you find someone like that.
Yep. And then we were working on like the directing exercises and everything, like I helped rewrite back before he spoke good English. I had to rewrite so much Spanish.
Yeah?
Into something that's intelligible. That's
Everything he wrote just felt like the script of Troll 2, where it's like, Americans don't talk like this. Yeah. Did you ever see Troll 2?
No.
Dude, so Troll 2 was written by a French director and writer that were married to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something like I remember a part of it. I think like a girl was in her like childhood bedroom, and her boyfriend was trying to sneak in, and she said something like, "You better like not come in here, or my dad'll rip your dick off." And like in the documentary that was made about it, like that actress was talking to the director, being like, "American kids don't talk to each other like this. Like this isn't like an insult. This just isn't what we say to each other."
I like that.
And they're like, "You don't know what the fuck you're talking about."
She
And they
doesn't
just
know
kept
what
on
the
doing.
F she's talking about.
Dude,
listen to that director. I'll
watch Troll 2 and then watch the documentary, which was made by the child actor of it, called Best Worst Film or Best Worst Documentary, something like that. But those two, like that as a double feature, is so fucking fun.
Yeah.
That's where I fell in love with bad movies. Okay, so you and Andres found each other. You're fixing all the scripts. Tell me more about the rest of your film school experience and how you found your people.
Well, I bounced around between like doing action things with Andres and then wanting to write comedies. Everything I wrote kind of turned into a comedy. So
those are good cheap scripts, man.
Yeah, between wanting to be the next Jerry Bruckheimer, and then wanting to be the next like showrunner of 2.5 Men or something.
Okay.
I was like trying to live in both of those worlds. So
you want to be who was it? Chuck Lorre?
Yep.
You wanted to be that?
Oh, he had two sitcoms going at the same time. Who can do that? Who can do that?
Just Chuck, as far last time I checked. Maybe Whitney, right?
Yep, probably.
Okay, so you wanted to, so you were writing comedies, you were writing actions, and this was throughout film school. So then, you guys wrap up film school. What? Andres goes back home?
No, he stayed in New York. Producers usually take go through in 3 years, and then directors and writers take a little more time to get some more material.
Okay.
At least at Columbia. So I came straight out here. We did our action vampire film. Did he talk about it?
No, he did not.
Oh. Okay. What did he talk about at all?
Just like
or what will he talk about, depending on the order of the subject.
Always producing. I like
that. So yeah, we made an action short with about vampires. And we at the last minute decided to make it in Spanish.
At the last minute.
Well, maybe not the last minute, but it was like it was a decision. We were like, okay, Columbia, the only things that the faculty likes are foreign films or and films about something foreign and coming of age stories. So we don't have a coming of age story, so at least let's make it foreign.
Okay.
So that added a little bit of like a social aspect to this. All we wanted to do was make an action film.
Okay.
A social aspect, like the vampires are speaking Spanish, and the bad
So sexy.
the bad English speakers are trying to kick them out of the country.
Okay.
Trying to hunt them down.
Okay.
So yeah, that was our thesis film.
Okay.
So we wrapped that. We shot that back in my hometown at my parents' nursery.
Hell yeah.
And it did get faculty honors.
Ooh.
So very smart. I think the only action film that I know of that made honors at Columbia.
Is it did the way that program work where like part of your tuition becomes your budget for your thesis film? Or did you have to I have to put in another 10, 20 grand into this shit?
Yeah. What did we make it for? 20 grand? Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you had to, as the producer, you had to find the money or front it or decide with the director who was fronting it.
What was the runtime on it?
under 20 minutes.
Okay.
Let's see, probably 16, 17 minutes in the good version. The first version, of course, editing action, it was 20 minutes and boring.
Okay.
So you cut it down to 16 minutes and it's good.
And how long did it take to film that?
Did we do 2 full weeks?
Okay.
1 week of action and then 1 week of everything else.
Okay. Oh, so you had to get stunt coordinators and shit?
Yep. 4 stunt guys came out. It was a fun film
sounds
to make.
expensive, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Don't they do shit where it's for every time this guy falls, you have to pay him $100?
It was 4 guys who liked working together, so we got away with without paying extra, stuff like that. They gave us a good rate.
Because they were doing the film school thing. It's people helped us when we made our shit, so we're going to kick back to you a little bit, pay it forward.
So I think within the rates, they were okay, this guy's falling all day, so we'll give him a little bit more here.
Okay.
But we got I forget what it was, but it was a great rate for what they were doing. And but we had to get insurance for that film, we had to completely rewrite the script to make it boring.
Uh-huh.
Instead of they shot bow and they shot each other or stabbed the guy in the heart with a spear. It was a dulled wooden object is pulled away from a heart, from a body that already has fake blood on it to make it appear that he has just been stabbed. Stuff like that, just to so that they knew how we were going to film it so that it would pass the
Interesting.
the test for getting insurance.
Was it that you just did a version that you submitted to the insurance companies and then you just filmed it however you wanted?
50-50.
Okay.
We were going to film it, that was making it not sound dangerous was also how we were going to film it. So half the time was how we were going to film it anyway.
Got it.
But we did have trucks driving around, people jumping off of them. Lots of fun stuff.
Okay, so you filmed a short action film. Then what? You got honors at film school. What happens after
Came
that?
straight out here and had no idea what to do. Hadn't done any internships. How do you did internships. That's the smart thing. I'd never thought about the practical side of things. I always thought that I was smarter than everybody else and people will recognize it.
Oh.
And
then
I
smartened
did
up.
so many. Yeah. I lived on my cousin's couch in Echo Park and got did I do 5 internships? One at I did one that didn't do anything for me at these people who did big commercials. It was good to see huge commercials and how much money is in that and how a PA on a
commercials are
commercial
the best fucking gig.
Gets more than the day rate of a DP on anything a regular show or something.
Yeah, especially if you go into golden hour and fucking
Yep.
double meal penalties.
So did that. I did Lawrence Bender, the producer of all the Tarantino films.
Mm-hmm.
And that one I got offered to be his second assistant. Or they said you should, this is opening up, you should take this.
Uh-huh.
But then I just faked paperwork so I could get an internship at Will Ferrell's company, Gary Sanchez.
Okay.
I had to, since they only accepted people who were in school, I used my Photoshop skills to fake my resume or fake the letter from Columbia that I was still in school so they would hire me.
Hilarious.
And I was first internship I got, they offered me a job. But I'd prefer to work at Will Ferrell's company. They seem nicer.
Okay.
got the,
wild decision making.
yeah, got in there, and then nobody gets offered a job. It's just, oh my goodness, there was nothing. Like you were more just sitting around, hanging out, and everybody wants the job there, so it's not going to happen.
Okay.
Then did I do any other internships?
What type of stuff did you do at that internship?
Mostly just coverage.
Okay, so you're reading scripts and writing like one sheets on them.
Yeah, so kind of like busy work like that. They were above Funny or Die at the time, so I think helped out on a few Funny or Die shoots.
Okay.
Covered that desk every so often, but yeah, nothing too memorable. You know, just grabbing coffee, doing coverage, busy work, at least reading scripts.
So after Dirty Sanchez, they don't offer you a job. Then what do you do?
Andres got me a job teaching high school.
Hell yeah.
That was finally made.
Was that in Connecticut also?
No, that was out in Utah. Just wait, at what point, I made a feature film.
Uh-huh.
I associate producer on a feature film in Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very different.
Yeah. And that one just killed me because it was like a super low budget feature film, like $100,000 on a film that should have been $1 million film. 16-hour days.
What was the premise of that one?
Per Vertigo, kind of a more humorous take on like Vertigo / Rear Window.
Okay, per Vertigo, so it's just a pervert that falls down a lot? Gets dizzy spells?
So it's more, it's a little bit more Rear Window, but per Vertigo, like that name goes a little bit better together. But yeah, just an everyman who's kind of a pervert, peeping Tom, and gets in trouble and tries to solve things.
Okay. Where did that film?
That was in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And that one it was a month and a half, or was it just a month? But yeah, 16-hour days. That just took it out of me, and I was like,
so brutal.
When we had a 12-hour day, I was like, what am I going to do with all this extra time I have? Like,
maybe catch up on sleep.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no, but you were young. You didn't need it back then.
No, that was I did learn when I crash. Now I can't do it, but back then I could do sleep deprivation for 2 weeks, and then that's the wall.
Yeah.
I need more than 3 hours a night after 2 weeks.
Yeah. God damn, dude. I do not miss that shit at all.
No, and that just scared me off of doing features after that. It was like, that was not, it wasn't fun.
So then what was your game plan after that?
Let's see. I was still trying to do sitcom writing, but didn't have any contacts for that. I got offered after that film, like right after that wrapped, this girl from film school was like, "Oh yeah, I'm making a feature too. You want to come jump on it, help out?" And I was like, "I'll give you some advice. You know, it's probably going to be brutal, and it probably won't go anywhere." And like I gave I had like a 45-minute call.
You're like, "Don't do it."
Just
pocket the money and live off of it.
And how many times have I been offered a job that I didn't take that would have been great? That one, that film became Electric Children, which catapulted everybody who was on it into like regular good jobs. The director, she's working regularly. Producer working regularly. It was starring. They got Kieran Culkin in it.
Okay.
So it was like right before his like big come up.
Okay.
So. How did I get to work on the one that was 16-hour days and didn't go anywhere?
It's the way she goes, and that's what you find out is that like it's very hard to tell what's going to be that thing. Like, sure, there's little inclinations and hints of just like, oh, I should take this, but for the most part, the stuff that they let you work on in the beginning, you have zero information going into it.
The good things and the bad things are just as much work. So work on something that's good.
Right. But then if you stay out of practice for too long.
As if you have a choice.
Right. It's like you have to. What I've learned is that you just have to say yes to everything for the first couple years until you actually understand the landscape. You're like, oh, fuck working, fuck taking any work from this specific dude. This lady always offers like good gigs that usually beget more gigs after that. Like they always hire good crews. This person sucks, they're great, and it's you're gonna eat shit for the first couple years without a doubt, and it's gonna suck. You're gonna build a lot of character.
Yep. So after that, the feature film world, indie film world, I never vowed never again. I taught taught high school, film to high school for a year, and that was like actually a lot of fun because there was just so much time. Just taught like one class and like got paid as a full-time person. Like
Okay.
teachers have it easy, man. I don't know why they complain all the time. It
Yeah.
was nice. It was a good
film
easy,
teachers.
it was a good easy job.
Yeah, in Utah.
Yep.
How long were you there for?
It was various times. I'd come in as like the LA expert in either directing or writing or producing, depending what needed to be done. But so yeah, I did one semester, just me. Like they'd bring in different experts every couple
To
weeks.
Utah?
Yep.
And you went over there and you just taught a full semester of whatever, and then
There
fucked
was
off back
it's this small school and right in the smack dab in the middle, like
Mormon country.
yeah.
Okay.
The school wasn't Mormon. They made sure not to have too many Mormons because they didn't want to get taken over.
Okay.
And it was like a third locals, a third rich kids, and it's rich kids that either their parents wanted to spend a lot of money to send them to school,
Mm-hmm.
and so they could snowboard all the time, or rich kids that were like making trouble at home and their parents wanted to get rid of them. And then I think a third.
Oh, all of our troubled kids always got sent to Utah also.
Yeah, and the third Chinese students who must have like paid bank, and they like found out this was like a great way to have make money.
Huh.
And everybody complained that the Chinese kids had the worst cigarettes. I tried one. They tasted like vinegar. Those weren't great cigarettes that they
It's
got
like
brought
counterfeit cigarettes.
back. Well, it's just like the local Chinese brands that like, but you'd slum it and get.
Okay, so teaching film in Utah, then what?
Then towards the end of that, I had a friend that like told me about this place, Maker Studios, and he said I was like, let's go to new media. That seems like something where you actually can control your fate.
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy.
What made you think that?
Well, I didn't want to do feature films or indie films anymore.
Right, you were scarred from
Yep.
that.
I mean, among the many things I didn't get was a sixth assistant to Jerry Bruckheimer.
Okay.
I thought that would be my end to action films. Is like, if I get him a tea that has just the right amount of milk and is just the right temperature, you hear all these horror stories.
Right.
And then he's going to move me up. I'll be third assistant within a year, first assistant within 5 years, and then I'll be producing for him. Like,
Man. He's just like, this is the best coffee I've ever had. No more coffee
I was
from
ready
you. I want scripts.
I was, among the many things I didn't get. So that, I felt like my action film dreams kind of died. Still kind of wanted to be a sitcom writer or something like that. But then some friends of mine wrote on The New Girl, and I was like, whoa, that must be the most fun ever. And they were like, imagine being in a room with the funniest people you've ever met. I was like, yeah, that must be the most fun ever. And if you're not funnier than them, you get fired. And I was like, okay.
New Girl was great.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe this isn't as... Maybe my dream isn't going to be a dream once I actually get it. If I actually get it, why? Then I kind of
right. Everything you think that you want, but then they phrase it in a way where it's actually terrifying. It's like, that's not a dream. That's a nightmare.
Yeah. That's so many jobs out here.
Right.
Like, and no, you don't realize it until you're like close enough to realize, oh, I just wasted how many years and how much money trying to get here.
Right.
So yeah, I was like, YouTube was starting to pop off. And I wanted to get into new media, and my friend toured.
Around what year was this?
Oh, man. Let's see. 2009 came out here. Hey, John, when did Maker Studios start? I was like here or there.
They started at 2009?
So probably late 2010.
Okay.
I forget. Yeah. So one friend toured the place. Said this is like exactly what you want, but the guy who he toured with didn't have any jobs to offer.
Okay.
Then another contact knew the then producer of Epic Rap Battles of History.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm a sitcom writer. I could write some epic rap battles. So I submitted like a few. Shut up, John. No laughing at that one. This was before the next statement I was going to say is this is before I knew that like they wrote all their own stuff.
Yeah, dude, can you spit some bars right now?
No. What did I submitted like a sitcom sample or something.
You're like, oh, I really know Bollywood. Let me do some shit on Gandhi.
So I submitted that, and then just randomly was at some holiday party, and a friend like who I hadn't seen in forever was like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to get a job at Maker Studios, and she was like, oh, well, my boyfriend works there. He's looking for an assistant.
No shit.
So then finally the third person I met, after like wanting to, knowing what I wanted, hired me like a month later.
Huh. Okay. So you're now at Maker Studio. It's very new media centered. And they're making stuff for YouTube. Like, what kind of stuff are they making, and like what type of stuff are you doing there with them?
So then, so I was working with a producer, Patrick Pope. I was his assistant producer.
Mm-hmm.
But he let me kind of just produce everything and when he got busy. So we were doing, let's see, Timothy Daily Ghetto. I think the first thing I did was 16 and Pregnant with Just Kidding News.
Sick.
I did a 16 and Pregnant parody. It was just like, going from film school where you had like a year to think about things to something needs to come out every week.
Right.
Totally Sketch was like the biggest sketch show on sketch channel on YouTube. And like we were just jumped in a car and like he called up Nikki Limo, who was one of the main talent on like a lot of his sketches, and like did a phone call, and we're like, okay, that's funny phone call asking her questions. That's what we're gonna release this week.
Mm-hmm.
And then who else did I work with? Like I didn't work with Kasim yet, but I worked with basically all the first generation of YouTube stars.
Okay.
But then also Bobby Lee was part of the talent that I was producing for. So he did a show called Talking.
Okay.
Which was kind of a send-up of like a late-night show where he would just invite people on, and then whatever biggest fight they had ever had is the first thing he would talk about.
Hell yeah. That's fun. That's good show.
So that was a very like, a 15-minute version of like what he's been doing podcasting ever since.
Okay, so you're at Makers, you're doing stuff with Bobby.
Yep.
And then at some point you decided to take a leap?
Yeah, was that 5 years at Maker? It was a roller coaster because I got in right at the end of the startup days.
Uh-huh.
And then went through them being acquired by Disney, getting more corporate. Made a lot of fun stuff. Probably stayed on longer than I should have. Everybody who like quit and went to a different job like moved up faster.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know anything about like climbing the ladder at a corporate job or asking for a raise or anything. I got Bryce hired for me, like as my assistant. His first week, I asked about what he was making. It was more than I was making as the producer above him. I was like,
no shit.
Yeah. You don't have to laugh like that, John. You've heard this before.
How bad are you at negotiating?
Well, you have to negotiate.
Did you just take the first number?
Yep. Yes. And then there was no other number offered after that.
Uh-huh.
There was never like, I never got a review. I never knew to ask for a review.
Uh-huh. But then out the gate, Bryce was making more than you?
That's when I asked, like said, hey, I think I should be making more money. That was the first time I got, 4 years in is when I gave him a number.
Oh, so you were just, wait, hold on. You didn't get a raise for 4 years, or you just took the raise that they gave you?
I think I got one raise. So it was basically, hand to mouth for my first how many years, but it was a fun.
You at least learned a lot. You cut your teeth, like you're honing your skills a little bit more, like in the practical world.
Yeah, no, it was a fun, dynamic place, and you didn't want to lose the job there. Like I'd survived later on, but now I realized maybe I survived every time. Like every 6 months they'd fire a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
They'd cut cut corners, and then they'd hire a lot of people back in different divisions.
Gotcha.
And I survived all of those, and I think it's because I was the cheapest person there, so they didn't. They're like, we're not.
We can't afford to lose George.
No, we're not. We're not going to save anything by firing this guy. I thought it's because people liked me. I was competent. No, I was way underpaid for a long time.
So then, tell me about leaving Makers. Like, what happened?
So yeah, Maker. Like it was in the fun days. You were making something like I had like 3 to 5 talent, and you'd have to make something every week. So it was just very much, for a lot of energy, like just producing something all the time. If you don't have a permit, you don't have like talent, you make it happen.
Right.
And that's like the fun part of it. Like it is
like guerrilla shit.
Yeah, it has to happen. The Disney came in and it became much more corporate, where you had to get permission for everything. Like Bart Baker, we produced for him for a little while, like the top parody channel on YouTube, and with Disney, like you had to get approval of the script.
Okay.
So you're supposed to like do a parody of something that came out now. It needs to be out next week. You would have to submit that for 3 days to lawyers who read it to make sure it's an actual parody. And we became like experts in parody law.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a fucking drag. You have to have lawyers involved in the script process?
Yes.
Over parodying something that's currently happening. If you
listen to a lot of those songs, the first lyric is usually, "This song is shit," because shit rhymes with a lot of things. And in parody law, to be able to use it, you have to make fun of it. So you'd have to make fun of the lyrics. You'd have to make fun of the song itself, like how the song was, the set, the costumes, like anything that you see. For parody to be like official is you need it in the parody.
Right, you need to be referencing the original product.
So if you're not making fun of like the hats that they're wearing in Uptown Funk, maybe that's not a parody of the hats, so you can't use that. Like that's probably okay, but like since wardrobe. But yeah, that's just like a specific example of like to be Disney and parodying something, you have to say every little bit of it.
Wow. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, and was it the week before Disney took over? Yeah. Bart had those were funny videos. There was a parody that had Mickey Mouse sodomizing somebody. Right before they took over. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why Disney wasn't the biggest fan of Bart Baker parodies.
Go figure.
So Disney took over. It was a lot more just sitting around, paperwork, just grinding it out. Like, how many? Yeah, did I have a year of just like I would get in, take a long break, ping pong, go get the Starbucks, come back, try to send one email out before a 2-hour lunch, and that was kind of my work day.
Okay.
And that just became it was soul crushing. But Bryce and I were working together, and we were like driving from Echo Park to Culver City every day, and just listening to podcasts. So we'd listen to either like Tim Ferriss or DVD ASA, because like everybody on Bobby's channel.
DVD ASA, man, that's such a deep cut. So few people know about that shit.
I know. Well, for a reason.
Right. It's hard to find. I remember like driving by and seeing like them taking advertising on bench ads.
Yes.
I was like, holy shit, I know
How did you discover it? How did you discover DVD ASA?
I think me and my buddy Billy, we were super into Vice. And then we saw Thumbs Up America.
Yes.
And we're like, holy shit, Dave Cho is fucking hilarious. And then my buddy found, I was like, dude, Dave Cho has fucking a podcast now with Asa Akira. I'm like, okay, well, let's give that a shot, and then became hooked.
Yep. So yeah, we would go back between Tim Ferriss and DVD ASA.
Hilarious.
Because
Wait, Tim Ferriss, so you guys figure out like how to like work smarter and shit?
Yeah, that was...
We're working way more than 4 hours. This is bullshit.
You and Bryce could make fun of me a lot. He's like, no, I don't want to listen to that again. His Arnold Schwarzenegger interview is very good.
Okay.
That's one of my top podcasts of all time.
Okay.
So give that one a listen. That one's inspirational.
All right.
Anything else, you don't need to.
Yeah, dude, I'll take a top 5 from you on Tim Ferriss.
Naval Ravikant. That one's good too.
Okay. So you guys are commuting. You guys are listening to DVD ASA and Tim Ferriss.
Yeah. And then Bobby was on DVD ASA, and then like he started his own show, Tigerbelly.
Uh-huh.
Kalila pushed him into it. And we were listening to that every Wednesday. And I was like, how do I get on this show? How do I get on this show? I'd like cold emailed Bobby about something else, and like he just gave a quick answer.
But he did respond.
Yeah.
Kind of nice.
But yeah.
You're like, I have the ear. Like I have the lane.
Did I go to a stand-up show, and like he chatted with me afterwards, like at the store a little bit, and then but he wasn't doing any of his. He wasn't really care. Like he never became a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to get him in. Like he likes gaming, so we did gaming shows. Here you play video games, and like we may have fun with it. And we actually like Kalila came in on one of those before we even knew her. Really, like there's one of the fun ones is her Bobby and Kalila playing UFC.
Okay.
And then she puts him in a rear naked choke after like they get in a real fight. So finally, one of my cousins, like on one of the Tigerbelly things, Instagram posted, why aren't you working on this? And I wrote, well, if there's ever a Hunger Games to be Gilbert's assistant, I hope I can be considered. And it was, little did I know that was when like Kalila was kind of like thinking about like adding video. And
Oh,
Gilbert.
no shit.
So she hit me up, and then I met with Gilbert and Kalila, and they said, we're serious. You're going to be a full partner. We want to add video. We want to take this seriously. Bobby said, yeah, he's okay, which is for Bobby enough for us. And yeah, we were off to the races. I started producing Tigerbelly. We recorded 9 p.m. on Monday nights, which was
Christ.
Yeah.
That's a little late.
Exactly.
Wait, so we just did a panel like not too long ago for a podcast movement, and I learned that we actually started not only around the same time, but literally the same month.
Yeah, February
2016, which is crazy. I remember that was like the first shoot that I did with Tom and Christina and their thing. And I remember once we started, I'm like, oh, all right, Tigerbelly's a thing that's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys had such a unique vibe and a unique thing where, and I'm sure you could like divulge into all the decisions that went into the way that it did. But I remember I would go pick up SD cards and it would just take me between 2 and 3 times real time to edit all the angles correctly and all that. And then I saw the way you guys did. I was like, oh, that's no editing. That's just fucking all of them at the same time. You're not doing the switching. You're making the user doing the switching with their eyes. I'm like, I fucking like that.
Yep. Well, you guys were always like ahead of us. I was like, those guys, how long have they been doing it for?
Just a couple days longer than you.
They must be rolling in the dough. They're rolling in the dough over there at YMH.
No, dude, it was all rubber bands and paper clips for a long time. It was literally just me, and it was like one of those things where for the first few months, it wasn't like I was just happy to be there. It was always a side gig, and it was like Tom was just like, well, here's like a couple $100 for like this week, and it was always like that. It was like cash for a long time, you know?
Yeah. Oh, me, I was a partner, and we didn't make money for basically 2 years. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because it's like you're now at least a minimum of 4 people.
Yep.
4 people got to eat on shit that's,
No, there was no money in the podcast at all.
Oh, at all?
Oh, yeah. It just took us forever to start making money.
Uh-huh.
It was a grind. It was a slow build. But yeah, that's the having everything at once on the screen was kind of a mix of DVD ASA did it.
Okay.
So then that was kind of where Tigerbelly started is from the DVD ASA world.
Oh,
and
funny. I never even looked at video. Like I knew they did it, but I was always just audio only.
Yeah, well, they'd do it. They'd have like 5 different cameras on at once or different.
Right, and there was always like a also like pussy cam or something, right? Yeah.
They did a lot of different things.
I remember that. Just an obscure thing.
So yeah, it was part, that inspired by them, and then part we record on Mondays. I don't have time to edit that. Like Tuesdays, let's see. Tuesday nights, Gilbert would give me the or was it Wednesday nights? Wednesdays is when Yeah, Tuesday nights, Gilbert would give me the final of the audio
Uh-huh.
because they were used to editing on audio. We did everything so backwards because it's just like grandfathered in.
Right.
Gilbert would edit the audio. I'd find the edits on the video from the audio.
Right. Oh, you would just look and then all of a sudden be like, and now it's out of sync.
Yeah, I would scan it and see like, okay. And then, so I would export it Tuesday night, upload it Wednesday night. Hopefully everything was good on Thursday.
Fun, dude.
Yep. And it would take all night for like the export. It was on some old like MacBook Pro.
Right.
So
it's
it
just chugging along. You're like, it's on its last fucking thread in this core. It just needs to make it through this.
it was a 10 to 12 hour export. So I had to.
Right, because it has like 5 different sources feeding into it.
Yeah. It has to render all of them at once.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, that was I'm forgetting how long that lasted. Probably half a year of working and doing Tigerbelly at the same time.
Okay.
So making okay money finally,
Mhm.
working for Disney's Maker Studios, and then just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights. It was all something to do with Tigerbelly.
I know those. I know that grind. It's you got the day job and then like the shit that you want your day job to be eating up all the rest of your social time.
And then yeah, I remember I tried to do two UCB classes. I go back.
I did one of those.
I go in and out of like improv, like because I feel so much sharper when I'm doing an improv class.
Oh yeah, like that sketch writing course
Yeah.
that they did, like taught me so much.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how to actually write a sketch and how you get to a premise quickly and well. Like it's
My favorite
super
thing for the sketch writing class is the ease of like how to write like by building something. Just write a summary and then just build the parts that you like.
right.
You don't have to like start at the beginning and write it. So it like made like writing more fun because like, oh, here's a punchline I have here. I'll just write in dialogue, but then I'll
Right.
expand everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've gone through the whole like UCB classes, and I was getting back into it, and then I did 2 like special classes, elective classes. Like
Mhm.
maybe was it another sketch class and then like a character class. And I quit both of them like in the same week. I was like, how much? I spent $400 on each of these or something. And like, this is impossible.
Like I don't even have time to sleep.
Yep. It was like the second week that I hadn't prepared a character or a sketch, and I was like, this.
So you're just showing up to class and everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like why are you?
I
here?
half-assed it twice, and then I was like, oh my goodness, everybody else is doing better than me. This is too embarrassing. Which part of doing improv is to be embarrassed. That's a skill to learn, but
Okay, so you're still at Maker as you're starting with Tigerbelly.
Yeah.
And then what? You just like tell me what happens where you finally just go full-time Tigerbelly.
Maker was just so slow. I was just at work wishing I was working on Tigerbelly, not thinking about anything else.
Right.
And I wish I could have milked it a lot more, but I liked my boss.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not gonna just fully check out.
Right.
And if I can't fully check out, I can't stay here because I am checked out.
Right.
So finally, yeah, I gave it a good, instead of 2 weeks, I gave it a month and a half or something. I knew there were like some slightly bigger projects happening. Like, so I was like, okay, before this happens, just so you know, I'm gonna be gone in like a month and a half. So
Right. Do what you want with that information. I could leave today. I could leave
Yep.
in 2 weeks. I could leave in a month and a half. Whatever you want.
let's talk about a good time that works for you. But that's about when I'm gonna be out of here.
Now, did he fuck you over and be like, yeah, today's going to be your last day?
No. She was super nice. But yeah, then I was like a year of picking up some freelance stuff. I produced like some Bart Baker shoots like in that time
Mm-hmm.
and earned as much money like when you're doing freelance. It's like
Right.
as much money in 2 weeks as you would for a month anyway. And I was like, oh, this is much better.
Right. Yeah, being a hired gun, as it turns out,
Yep.
is way more rewarding than, being a 9-to-5er.
But then those dried up. I started getting into credit card debt again. And I was like, but slowly, like luckily it was like a half a year in there where I was like just hit or miss, just scraping by. And then finally money started flowing into podcasts.
There we go. So So then it's like, were you still like, when was the last time that you had taken freelance gigs? Was it like, and when was it? Because it was Tigerbelly, but then you also, like, when did you create Seven Equis?
You have to get Bryce on here for that one.
Okay.
Because that was let's see, 2016. Bryce always helped me out on things like, so
Okay.
he was still, he milked the system even better than me. Because he stayed on, and then they, were you there too, John? When they just stopped calling you into the office for like 3 months, but you still got a paycheck? If I had
That
hung
sounds
on,
rad as shit.
I know. If I had hung on for another 3 months or 6 months, like, I would have gotten 3 months for free.
That's fucking.
That's what happens when you're with Disney. They're scared to fire anybody officially,
Interesting.
so they treat you well towards the
Towards the end, so
Yeah.
that you never like go like, oh, fucking false.
oh yeah,
False
could
firing.
have fully milked it. So yeah, I mean, Bryce always helps me out with things like, so.
Okay.
We were doing various shows together, and then when do we start? Hey, bitch. Yeah, like, it's just like, you make a lot of contacts from doing a show. So everybody that came on Tigerbelly, I'd chat with them and see who vibed.
Right.
And we started an all-female show with the women from like the Just Kidding News universe,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of the real start. I think we have like the year before that, we have like paperwork of just starting the LLC, like, so that we could, work as a business.
Uh-huh.
But we had the LLC before we had an office or anything else.
Right. The way it should happen.
Yep. So yeah, we just kind of slowly dipped our toe into like starting a business, like with, people ask us to help out. We try different business plans.
Right. Where you're like, oh, do we charge them per episode? Do we get a slice? Is it like, there's so many different ways to kind of skin this podcast cat, where it's like, there's a lot of right ways to do it, but there's even more wrong ways to do it, where you'll think you're a marksman and you're taking like, oh my God, this is such a great sniper shot I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize that the barrel is actually curving right back up at your face.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. That's why our business plan changed. Like, early on, our business plan changed every 6 months. We'd do one thing for 6 months, and then we're like, how do you make money at this without going crazy?
Right.
Let's change it to like, we're just doing services. Oh, at least the money's up front. But if you're just doing services, then some talent, like, they'll like look at each thing, line item, and the one line item where you're making your money, they're like, oh, I should give this to somebody else. And you're down to like the things that weren't making you any money.
Right.
And you're like, oh, well, this isn't worth it anymore. Then you'd switch to a different model of pure percents.
Right.
Okay, we're owners in the show. And then you work on 3 shows that don't make any money. I was just telling someone the other day, like, I've lost more money on 50-50 shows that I own 50% of than anything else.
God damn, dude. Okay, so you then start, so it's just kind of a matter of figuring out different recipes and different like ways that things are put together, where it's like, this makes financial sense for us, this does too, and along the way you're finding out a million different ways that you shouldn't be skinning this cat.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's I think the smart thing is just throw a lot of things at the board and see what happens. That was the smart thing at that time, is like, we had the energy, we loved doing podcasts,
Right.
so we were trying a lot of things, and we didn't have, nights or weekends.
And that's always the funniest part, not the funniest part, but it's one of the most common themes that I'm seeing from people that want to start podcasts, is that like, they see the one that they're trying to emulate, and they're like, great, let's start doing that and we'll start making money immediately. It's like, no, like, you're not going to make money for a while. So you better love doing this, because I'll tell you one thing for sure. It's not going to work out the way you think it's going to.
Oh, and that's especially scary if you emulate like Cumtown and DVD ASA, because you're like, if you're not making money immediately, you're not getting any other jobs in the regular business.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because I mean, you say shit where it's just like,
Let me just admit the craziest things about anything and tell everybody in the industry why I hate them.
Right, because the internet is written in ink. You can't take that shit back, ever. Like, you could try your best to hide it. Like, there's certainly some videos of like, oh fuck, what was that thing? And it's just been scrubbed from the internet, like that weird fucking Beyonce picture from the Super Bowl that she tried really hard to bury, and I think kind of did a decent job at it, but I think you could probably still find it where she's just all veiny and fucking muscular. But yeah, podcasters don't have that muscle. They don't, like, it's so hard to actually scrub something off the internet unless you get ahead of it before anyone even picks up on it.
Yep.
Which is a big reason why DVD ASA kind of didn't really work out anymore. And anytime Cho tries to come back, even though it's a fun, like, appearance or performance, people are like, hey, remember when he did that thing that got himself and it's just like, hey, that was like a bit. I don't like. From what I understand, it wasn't a true story, and
they would
were leaning
podcast
into
for
shit.
like 12 hours a day and
Right.
just try to say the craziest things to get a reaction out of the other people in the room,
right,
which is great for content.
right.
It's difficult if
Bad for longevity.
some idiot believes everything you're saying. Like it's the way to get a fun, like a crazy podcast where people
Right.
will say crazy things.
And it's funny
You're
because, like,
delirious by the end of it.
there's parts of that still carry on where it's like, yeah, there's so many bits and arcs that happen where it's like, yeah, people think that I legit went to gambling rehab, and like there's just no, dude, that was the character. That's a thing that, like, oh, this is a fun little nugget, let's expand on it and like turn it into this super exaggerated thing. And like a lot of people understand
Kayfabe, baby, kayfabe.
exactly. And it's like, and it's so funny to me. It's, you know, there was a long time where at YMH, I think we started picking on wrestling fans and like saying that, oh, they're so fucking stupid, like the predetermined outcome of like how all this shit works. But at the same time, we were doing all that same stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, none of this is organic. We're going to fake a fight between, you know, these two people and then these two people, and it's going to like snowball into this other thing. It's like, you know, this is like very produced.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you're able to trick people about it, you're like, hey, we did something good here. You know, there's some real idiots out there that believe this shit.
Yep. Wait, you faked that stuff?
All of it, dude.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man.
Tigerbelly was all real. Actually, it was more
Yeah?
early days. Yeah, that was kind of the fun and the fear is just how real it would be.
Really?
Because if it got too real, we'd have to pause recording. And you'll see the edits. You can't hide the edits and how I edited it.
No, well, I mean, what? You just go like a full screen on one thing for a little bit and then you go back to,
Yeah.
dude, it seems artistic.
Yeah.
It seems like an artistic choice. But that's, okay, so then you started adding more and more like shows onto the slate, making it work. I mean, there's fucking like 10 people working here now. You guys got interns, got fresh out of college. You guys have fucking
No
foreign
interns
people from
right now.
Spain.
Don't. Yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad. No, sorry, no interns.
We
We'll
have to
cut that.
pay everybody here. It's the worst.
There's paid internships.
Yeah, I know.
We
Wait, what? I know from paying it. I've never received one.
no. Back when we were growing up, no, there was no
yeah,
paid internships. Then there's like fucking labor laws for children and stuff. We're just like, fucking, it's fine. I'm fine with not getting paid for a while. You got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
Well, fucking A. So you started building up this like big roster and cast of shows. And, you know, it's kind of like a revolving door. This one works. This one doesn't. This one's like going to stop ending production. This one's starting to raise production. And it's always like a little puzzle and a game of just like, oh, okay, we're putting more resources into this one. And, oh, now it's dying down. So it's kind of like shifting things around. Has that been an easy thing for you to kind of like starting to figure out and solving this puzzle? Was there a learning curve? What was that like?
It was a lot easier back when Bryce and I were just doing it all ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, yeah, when you first start delegating, that's like a scary moment. Huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we brought in Gilbert's sister, Gabby,
Uh-huh.
as our first employee, and that was like our first full-time employee. And that was kind of sustainable. We could try a lot of things, you know, make sure we made some money on the side, and then we slowly tried other things, tried a few freelancers. And that was like the main thing. Our longevity is just not expanding until the money's there. Like trying a lot of things, throwing it against the wall, and then now is the scary time because we've got a lot of people we're responsible for.
Oh, yeah. Being responsible for salaries is like the scary part of owning a business.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So I let Bryce worry about the money, but it's I worry about making sure we at least try to have good business plan and good shows coming in the pipeline.
Hell yeah, dude. Like, and that's like, I'm so glad that you were able to do this today. There's so much that goes into getting to where people like you are at, where people like me are at, where it's just figuring out like, this is like, we didn't just knock on a door, you know. There's, I think it was on, I don't know which episode is going to come out, but I've said this in the past before, but it's, yes, there's always luck involved, but it's when luck meets opportunity is what you actually see that you think is just luck. But it's, you know, if fucking Joe Schmo down the street who's, you know, smoking crack behind a dumpster, someone's going to come by and be like, hey, do you want to like produce this podcast? But he only knows how to smoke crack. He doesn't know how to make a podcast.
Yeah.
That's kind of a wild analogy. But I think you know what I'm saying is that like it takes years.
I thought you were going to go like Ed. And if you offer him some crack, he'll take it. And he'll know what to do with it. Where if you offer it to me, I have no idea.
But like what I'm trying to say is it takes years to like really hone your skills and your craft to be able to present value to people that, you know, would be willing to pay you for it. And, you know, a lot of this is an attempt to at least teach people that, you know, want to be in podcasting, whether it be producing or more tech or more creative or, ad sales too. Sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a while to actually be able to, you know, have the notoriety and like the skill set like under your belt to be able to do all that stuff. So let's say, for example, there's someone watching this. They're working a job that they absolutely hate. Let's call it a Wall Street or some office job or service industry, something like that. And they want to do what you do. They want to produce podcasts and like in a way where they could still eat. And they have zero skills. What would be like the first step that you think that they should take in order to start venturing into this world?
I think start doing a small version of it to see if it gives you energy. Because I think that's the one we didn't touch on this, but everything I tried that didn't work, and all the skills that I've like picked up along the way. Because I think the thing I've used the most that like I didn't know at the time was a college Photoshop class. And first I used that to get into Will Ferrell's company by saying I was still at school, but I've used that set on thumbnails or anything else since then. When I was at Maker Studios, you see these idiots who are famous, and you think you can do it yourself. So I've got, don't go watch it, but I've got the voted best channel, YouTube channel, where I like started trying to do dumb sketches and different things. None of them really took off, except maybe one with Danny Sexbang. But I learned what it's like to be on that side of YouTube. So everything like I tried that I failed at, like in a sense, was still like useful. Once I started with Tigerbelly, I knew how to upload a video. I knew what to look for. I knew what everything, all the mistakes you've made.
Right.
So I didn't make every mistake. I still made a few because I was uploading at night.
Right.
Before my regular job, but it at least was set up to know everything you have to like do along the way.
Right. You have to practice.
Yeah. So like, I think just try something and then like see what part of it gives you energy. Because for me, it's kind of the producing side of it. If I have to be on camera, that's kind of, I don't get excited about that. Whereas setting things up so that fun can happen on camera. Like Bobby doesn't like things that are too produced, but so my goal with him is just to set the table so that he has elements there that he can have fun with. And that's kind of like what gives me energy. Uploading a video and seeing it 1 out of 10 gives me energy. If it's 8 or 9 out of 10, I try not to look at it. If it's 1 or 2 out of 10, then I'll like refresh it and see. I'll pay attention to comments for a couple days.
Right.
But yeah, I think just try everything so you know which parts you can do and which parts give you energy. And even the things that you fail at, that's giving you valuable skills.
It's I can't stress how important that what you just said was, which is so many people try and start things and they're like, but I fucked it up. But it's like, yeah, but you just learned something very important, which is, sure, there's there's 1,000 ways, or, there's a million ways to make a light bulb. Or no, what's the saying? There's a million ways not to make a light bulb, and there's just one way to do it. But you're not going to start with the correct way to make a light bulb. You need to rule out all the other ways to not make it. So if you fail at something, you're at least able to extract and learn why that failed and how to not make that mistake again. Because everyone's human, everyone's going to fuck up. But to be able to learn from your mistakes and your experiences, you need to have those experiences in order to learn from them.
Yeah, it's so much better to fail small.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great skill to fail big too.
Sure.
That means you're working on bigger things.
Yeah.
But fail small before you have a reason to fail big later on.
Totally. Yeah, it's all about just building up your Swiss Army knife and just knowing yeah, I've developed this instinct over the last 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years. That's actually, it has a track record,
Yep.
where it's just yeah, these instincts, you could trust these instincts. And that's such an important skill set to develop. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
George, thank you so much for coming on this show. Please plug anything you'd like to before we wrap up.
Check out George_Kimmel on Instagram. It's probably mostly going to be photos of my kids, but I might have some podcasting content there too every so often.
Well, yeah, George, thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you,
and yeah, thanks, man. Oh, man, what a fun interview with my pal George Kimmel. I hope you guys really liked it, and you guys are digging this series that I'm doing with different people in the podcast industry. Now's a good time to remind you to rate, subscribe, and comment on who you would like to see me interview for this series. I would like to thank everyone that you're seeing on screen right now. Without their help and their support, it'd be very hard for me to continue putting these episodes out on a regular basis. But because of their support, I'm able to do so. And if you would like to support this show as well, you can go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. Thank you again for catching this episode of Catching You Up with
Nadav, it's go bits.
But most importantly, I'd like to remind you that everything that you've heard on today's episode...
This is a totally unconfirmed news.
All right, that could have been a little cleaner, but we'll see you next week.